Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today I'm going to share a really fun project with you. We are going to make a cute votive candle holder using tissue paper and rubber stamps from our sponsor, Rubber Stamp Tapestry. You can save 15% on your order of $10 or more using the coupon code VOTIVE16 at pegstamps.com. Check it out. I'm using the Aloha set today. It's so pretty and it's a really fun project. And the best thing about stamping on tissue paper is that it allows you to stamp on any surface you want, whether it's bumpy or rough or just a surface you can't stamp on easily. And I'm also going to show you how you can do this on another surface such as paper like we did here in this tag. So it's a very versatile technique and I think you're really going to have fun with it. So let's go to the table and I'll show you how it's done. Okay, here's what you're going to need for this project. You're going to need a votive candle, and this is one I picked up at the dollar store. It's actually pina colada scented, so I thought this would be perfect for summer, and it smells really, really good. You're going to need some tissue paper scraps, some white glue or Mod Podge, whatever decoupage glue you prefer, waterproof ink, and I'm using the Aloha stamp set from Rubber Stamp Tapestry. There you can see the cute little description of all the shapes in there. It's so pretty, but you can use whatever stamps you like. I just thought pina colada, Hawaiian, luau would just be like a really fun like hostess gift if you're going to a luau party or a barbecue or something like that this summer. So the first thing you're going to do is your stamping so you can have ample time for it to dry while you're working on your other portions. And you want to make sure that you're using a waterproof ink. And you could, if you were just working from fresh tissue paper, like a brand new sheet, I'd cut it in strips, but I just had these shapes because that's what I was working on. I made a bunch of tissue paper pom-poms today and I had all this left over on my table and I didn't want to throw it away. So I'm going to start by stamping these Aloha flowers, and I'm just kind of making a long kind of strip of this because I'm going to be piecing this design together up at the top edge of my candle. The nice thing about this is when the candle's on and lit up, it's going to shine through the layers of our tissue paper on the outside of our votive holder, and it's going to be so pretty. So I just want to kind of have a simple design here. It doesn't really matter if you turn your stamp every so often like you normally do when you're using peg stamps, just because we can turn our paper when we paste it down. So just keep that in mind. I am going to keep in mind while I'm stamping the like palm here that I do, look at the registration mark so I can line it up well, because I don't want it to be starting from a weird place. But remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. This is going to be so pretty. I don't think you're going to be able to mess it up. In fact, this is one of these projects that I would do with my kids when they would come to art camp. I used to run an art camp in my studio in the summer, and we would do this on little mason jars or old baby food jars, like the glass baby food jars, and then we'd string some beads on a wire and we'd wrap it around the neck of the vase, and you could like put little plants in it, you could put little tea lights in it. It was just, they're so pretty and they're one of those projects you cannot mess up. So if you have kids or grandkids, I hope you'll try this project with them because it's so fun and it teaches them that they can make beautiful things. I love projects that are going to come out good no matter what your skill level is. I'm going in with some of these flowers in purple, or you could use blue or really whatever color you like. I'm surprised the purple actually does look pretty good on this yellow paper. Sometimes when you do complementary colors on top of each other, it doesn't work so well. I'm going to do that over here too. And obviously we're going to have more than we need to wrap around the top of our vase, but I think it's always better to have more options than too few, especially on, we're working on scraps. We're not, we're not wasting materials that would otherwise go to something else. This is stuff that we're saving from the recycling bin. And then I like this little, little branch. I want to get this little branch in a few times. And I'm just using, it's kind of like a burnt sienna brown. So just make sure you're using a waterproof ink. Otherwise, when we go to decoupage it on, it's going to smear, and you don't want that because that won't be so pretty. There we go. Now we're going to set that aside so it has ample time to dry while we are working on the decoupage. Now I'm going to tear my pieces of paper I have here a little bit smaller because I didn't want such big pieces. It's hard to decoupage on something so small like this little votive holder with like edges and curves. If you have a lot of really big pieces, they'll tend to wrinkle, which could look pretty actually, but I want to have a little more control. So I'm just tearing up my tissue here. Do that for all the colors you want to use. So you can see you can make use of even the tiniest scraps in this project. Okay, now that you have all of your paper torn up, you won't need this much, but it's always better to have a little bit too much so you don't have to stop midway and re-rip. I am going to start on the bottom of my candle. You can cover the bottom. You don't need to. You know, it's just if you feel like it. And I'm going to start by adding some decoupage glue, or you could use white Elmer's glue. Any sort of PVA glue is going to be fine for this. And I'm just putting it on like the bottom half of this so I can have a place to hold it that's not sticky. Then I'm going to start with my pink, and I am going to do kind of a layer of pink around here. You can just set it gently on with your fingertips because we are going to put a coat of glue on top of this, so don't feel like you have to really work it in there. Just kind of set it down. Tissue paper glues really well and really easily, so you don't need to, you know, fuss about this too much. And I want a nice rough edge because it's going to help my colors transition together a little bit if I have a little bit of a rough edge there. Now I'm going to back in with my brush. Oh, and I used my the lid from my peg stamps come in. I just use that from my glue palette, and you can wipe it right off when you're done if you want to. So great way to use what you have. Keep your workspace clean. And I'm just folding over any edges just by brushing it back on itself because I want to keep the bottom just plain glass. But again, that's up to you. I'm using a matte glue rather than a glossy glue. That's completely up to you. Use whatever you prefer. And now I'm going to bring that glue up a little bit higher. And you can do another row of pink if you want, but I think I'm going to go in with some blue. And I'm going in with more of like a, not a greeny blue, a blue that's either kind of neutral or a little bit more purpley. This tissue paper does not fade. You can get bleeding tissue paper and you can get bleed proof. This is a bleed proof kind. And that just means that if it gets wet, the color is color fast. It's not going to come off and bleed onto the next thing on your, these colors aren't going to bleed together. They might blend because you see the overlapping of colors, but they're not going to bleed. And now we're going to go in with our yellow, so make sure you bring the glue all the way to the top. I don't go over the edge with the paper though, because it's paper and we don't want anything to be flammable where it shouldn't be flammable, okay? So make sure, once you use that lip as a guide, so if you get your paper up to that lip, just fold it back on itself. And just try to kind of get in there with your fingernail or a toothpick or whatever you have. Fold back any wayward pieces. And I'm just going to get under any little parts there and secure it down with another coat of my glue. Just make sure you get any of those little edges. Any place where you had paper overlapping where there wasn't glue underneath, make sure you get under there and add some glue or it's going to look messy. Alright, so now we're going to prepare these pieces for gluing. I'm just going to push all this stuff out of the way and set this down. And you can tear it, or you could actually go around and cut it into sections. It's up to you. Cutting it is pretty, you know what? I think I'm going to cut it because it doesn't really, you're not really going to see the edges that much, so I'd as soon cut it and have it a little bit neater. And you probably have more than you need, and that's great because, you know, if you do have to pull something up because it doesn't look great, you can do that. This piece came out really well. I must have had some practice before. That was the last one I did because that one looks really good. The other ones look a little dicey. So now we are going to lay these down. Oh wow, look at that. That's pretty, that worked out pretty well. And you can just push down any wrinkles. Look at that. We will put a coat of decoupage on top though. And I don't need too big of a piece actually. Oh, this one came out really well. Let's use that. And then I can cut one more little piece to go in there. And if you tore it, you wouldn't have hard edges, so that might be beneficial. So do whatever you want to do. I'm going to cut this little guy off here. And I'll cut off the little smudge right there. Heh, tricky. And we'll stick that right. Oh, I can probably just make it overlap there. Okay, and now for our final coat. And then we're going to have to be patient and let this dry. And then we'll see how pretty it is, because it's not going to be pretty till the glue's dried, and that could take a little while. Okay, I set these outside to dry, and it's pretty well dry. It might get a little bit less splotchy in there as it dries, but I think it looks great. And if you wanted to kind of glam it up a little bit more, you could use like a glitter glue and brush it over there and let it dry again if you wanted a little sparkle or a sandy quality to it. But I think I really like this the way it is. And it's just kind of cool because you're able to stamp on something that's round, something that's got texture to it. If you tried to put your rubber stamp right to that, it wouldn't give you a very good impression. So learning to stamp on tissue paper like we did today is a technique that you can use on many of your projects to come down the line. I wanted to do this on another project too, so what I did was I took some of that tissue paper that I had left over and I just used a Mod Podge to glue it to a shipping tag, and then I did the same technique with the stamping on the tissue paper and then decoupaging it down, and then I took just a regular tag again and just stamped a normal frame and then put some dried flowers down there with my glue or Mod Podge, whatever you're using there, and now I have a fun little bookmark to add to it, or a gift tag if I end up giving this as a gift. But I don't know, it smells pretty good and it looks pretty cute, so I might have to keep this one for myself. I hope you enjoyed today's project. Please give me a thumbs up if you did, and check out our sponsor, Rubber Stamp Tapestry. You can find them online at pegstamps.com. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, happy crafting.